Well, good evening. Good evening. My name is Tony Brewer, and along with Kyle Foss and Joan Hawkins, I'm a co-producer of this event, which is the Writers Guild Spoken Word Series right here at Backspace Gallery. I was just talking with Jen. We've been doing this since this particular series started in 2017, and we've been in 3. This is our 3rd venue. And we were online for 3 years during lockdown, and we're still here. So thanks for being here. The Writers Guild, the Spoken Word Series is sponsored in part by the Indiana Arts Commission, the Bloomington Arts Commission, and the Bloomington Urban Enterprise Association. The Writers Guild of Bloomington wishes to acknowledge and honor the indigenous communities native to this region and recognize that Indiana University in the city of Bloomington is built on indigenous homelands and resources. We recognize the Miami, Delaware, Potawatomi, and Shawnee people as past, present, and future caretakers of this land. I have a couple of things I wanted to mention, a couple of events coming up. Third Sunday Write is a virtual space where you can find writing prompts and the company of other writers. It's a private Facebook page where you can respond to prompts posted monthly. You may then write and post anytime during the month and offer a response by sharing a line from their piece in the comments. For more information or to join the group, contact Shauna Ritter at shauna747@gmail.com. Also wanted to let you know about the ever industrious Kyle Quast creative residency that's been happening. When did you start? Did you start in May or June? June, okay. And it continues through August. But here in July, Kyle Quast has been doing a series of a residency of various venues around town. These are solo and duet improvisations, and in July, the duets are going to be with Julian Douglas, longtime percussionist. Julian Douglas, longtime musical partner with Kyle, and those are happening on Saturday, July 12th, Friday, July 18th, and Friday, July 25th, right here at Backspace Gallery, and those are at 7 o'clock. You'll see him on Facebook. He's been advertising these. There's posters up as well. They've been fantastic. They've all been really, really good. So I encourage you to come check those out. Also wanted to mention the last Sunday poetry reading and open mic, Sunday, July 27th at 7 o'clock at Morgenstern Books over there on Auto Mall Road. And that is featuring Portsmouth, Ohio poets J.I.B. and Nikki Blankenship Flower. Is it Flower? Yeah, thought so. With an open mic to follow. And next time, right here at the Spoken Word Series here at Backspace Gallery on Thursday, August 14th. Really excited about this one. We're still working out the musical guest, but we're having 3 poets. Dan Sullivan, who is an organizer of the Bloomington Poetry Slam, along with Siren Hand and Adam Hinsey, 2 near and dear friends of the Writers Guild specifically. They come down and do poetry on demand with us all the time. But they now have they just opened a new storefront called the Indie Type Shop up there in Indianapolis. So that's going to be a great feature. All this info is available on our website or by liking or following us on Instagram or Facebook. You should also sign up for the newsletter, but go to the website, writersguildbloomington.com. And if you haven't already, I'm going to put this over where you can see it. You should give us money because we are a deserving 501c3 not-for-profit, and times are tough. Stuff's getting cut left and right. You all know about that. I'm not going to dwell on it tonight. Because I am thrilled to have our fantastic features, Justin Hamm and Jennifer Moore, our poetry features tonight. I'm really looking forward to hearing you both. Matt LUNDQUIST is going to start us off with some music. Matt LUNDQUIST gathers inspiration for songs from the lost roads, deep woods, and front porches of Southern Indiana. In 2022, he won the John Hartford Memorial Festival Songwriting Contest for his tune, Hartford's Bend. Here in Bloomington, you'll find him stomping with cosmic folk rockers, deep country dream, singing Garcia and Hunter tunes with Dead Country, or pickin in your friend's backyard. Please put your hands together for Matt LUNDQUIST. Oh, yeah.
a treat to be here at the Writers Guild Backspace Gallery. Thanks, you guys. I mostly play at bars. I'm always like, why don't they just listen to me? And tonight I'll probably be like, why don't you guys stop listening to me? Stop looking at me. Talk amongst yourselves. Anybody ever doing a sound healing? I hadn't either. I was very shruggy about it, but my girlfriend took me and it was like, it was cool. They were all like, it was so amazing. I was like, yeah, it was all right. And I came home and wrote this song. I wrote like 3 songs that night. So. Told him when he was young, sorry son, but you don't have long. Gotta live while the living's good. Left that town as soon as I could. And ever since that time, days and years went flying by. Everybody knew my time is coming. That's why I don't stop running. in town. Play with a group called Deep Country Dream. It's kind of like a country rock, kind of psychedelic sometimes, but I also got a little old-timey band. Same name, Deep Country Dream. Playing at the Switchyard House, not the brewery, that's closed, not the park. Before those, there was the Switchyard House. That's been like they have usually a poet, and they have like 3 bands. It's acoustic, there's no mic, it's got a smaller, even smaller than this, outside. Down on South Monon. But I'll be there this Sunday with my band, my little, I got a stand-up bass player and an old-timey fiddle player. And so it's a little more old-timey song.
So to the Hamm for Matt LUNDQUIST, folks. We'll have a set from Matt a little bit later. Next I want to bring up our first feature for this evening. Jennifer Moore is the author of Easy Does It and The Veronica Maneuver, both from University of Akron Press, and Smaller Ghosts from Seven Kitchens Press. Her poems appear are forthcoming in Bennington Review, Plowshares, Interim, Diagram, and the Cincinnati Review. She is a professor of creative writing and director of the honors program at Ohio Northern University, and she lives in Bowling Green, Ohio. And we're thrilled to get you back in Bloomington. Please welcome Jennifer Moore.
Can everyone hear me okay? Yes. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you to Tony and Joan for the invitation. And I'm so happy to be reading alongside Matt with that beautiful music. And I'm excited to hear Justin's stuff later. And everyone else who signed up for the open mic, I'm excited to hear your work too. So I'm going to read a few poems from my most recent book. It's from the University of Akron Press. It's titled Easy Does It. And then I'm gonna read a few new poems, which I haven't really shared with many people. So this also feels like an open mic for me for these later pieces. I will start with the first poem in this collection, which is titled Grand Opening. And now the guests are arriving 2 by 2 by 2. Somebody mists the lilies, every marble column's veined in gray. I was cordially invited to attend this event. I play it very cool. I stroke my invisible beard and strike up a conversation with a sculpture. I like drinks. I like corners. Of course I care about art. In my heart, I'm pawing at the air. I try to describe what I'm seeing. I try to think about colors, about what catches my eye and why. To be honest, it's the hundreds of napkins folded into swans swimming on each table. The newest museum piece is flanked by impressionist paintings. The crowd jostles in. They snap a shot, grab a drink, and walk away. An ice sculpture drips into a sagging mess. My heels punch through the manicured grass. At least I can make limping look natural, simple. I peer back into the museum's halls, no clue where the latest marvel is. Every impression looks the same to me. Their blues and greens are soothing, but I want to be the vein in the marble, the only thing interrupting its purity. Day turns the corner into evening. Everybody had a great time looking good. The paintings hang unwatched in the dark. I wrote this poem during the first Trump administration. It is called The Fog. If we ask how the Enlightenment ends, we're told to ask a different question. Language isn't our first language. These tongues are speaking in tongues. Any hour, any day, the buzzard doesn't flinch at the oncoming car. Soon as we've passed, he's back to picking at the dead. Has the great experiment failed? Is the dream as we've known it now over? Behind the curtains, another curtain. To strike a tone of hope or loss of hope, I've got too many cards in my hand. Soon these chords start to sound the same, though when played on different instruments, they all sound equally wacko. Not everything's a metaphor. The thickest fog isn't even visible. To make it through the cloudiest day, I conceal my weapon on the roof of my mouth. The split tongue of a snake, you know I don't have to tell you this, can do more than simply hiss. This poem's titled Wisteria. Such a beautiful, beautiful flower, and something with a very sultry summer. It just inspired me to write this piece, so it's Wisteria. Night, you've textured me with sadness. I don't know what to do with this unfamiliar shade, this head full of sagging flowers. The garden's darkness is a garland woven with moving. It's not in your nature to be sinister, sister, but you'd strangle the world if it felt right. You'd substitute the venom for the cure. Some bouquets frighten me. In their heads, I imagine fangs wait. How to distinguish hysteria from wisteria, aftermath from ruin? There's no way to separate this evening from its dusk. I will not play the fool. I will not coax the wax from the bee. Take me to the morning that outlasts all other mornings, that opens on acres of yellow with no thick petals to speak of. Take me to the dawn that drives the sun to drag its mirror across the lake where seeing will no longer be new. And the last poem I'm going to read from this collection is titled Use Cabbage to Heal the Bruise. I like to do a lot of research, and then you kind of go down like little rabbit holes and discover so many things. So I was doing research about kind of like home remedies, and it discovered lots of different kinds of things that are cures for various ailments. So that's how this poem started. Use cabbage to heal the bruise. Use cabbage to heal the bruise. Use the bruise to remember damage and the place of damage. Use a cherry as a way of hiding the stone as a method to measure the river. The river can be used. How you use it is up to you. Use the cat's purr to patch the ear that hears heartbeat, the field to rid yourself of sound. The minute is a mode of recovery. Use its length to count your breath, then use your breath to remember the window. A window's memory is weak. Use the sparrow's beak to peck into a house's past. At night, use shards of glass to remember the wine to ignore the breaking. Use the mind to read the mind, the skin to locate the bone. Use a bee as a way to retrace the honey, honey as a way to discover the bee. Use the iris as an eye, the lash as a door to close against, the dandelion to map grass and its movements. Use the wind as a wing, then the staircase to get down to the sea. Use the sea to forget the staircase, forget the eye, to forget the sparrow and bruise and the bee. Use the sea to forget the sea. So I'm just gonna read 4 new poems. This first poem I wrote last year, and the last couple years I've been writing not as much as I'd like to. It's been really hard for me. I'm not a very prolific writer. It takes me a long time to write even just one piece. And before the last couple of years, I had something like a 3 or 4 year drought of writing. So it's nice to be back into it, but I feel kind of like I'm starting from scratch. So this poem is titled Origin Story, and it begins with a couple of lines from a musical that you might recognize. So this is Origin Story. Let's start at the very beginning, a very good place to start. Nothing but a hum, that's how it goes. Expecting a thought, getting an ellipsis. In the morning, my son thrills at flipping the light on, then off, then on, then off again. Shrieks of joy, then on to the next adventure. Jump starter of sparks. Where is the light? I can't find a thing. Meanwhile, my question is always the same. How do I get back to the place where I belong? Tremendous trees cloaked in fog, 1,000 still lakes, moss growing on everything. Will I ever be home again? But I know people there are saying, please, anywhere but here. Wanting to be cradled in the metal mesh of a downtown, or some endless Midwestern field, or the petal of a giant tulip. No matter where, everyone lit from above, darkness a page, and the book just opened, but already, yes, already ended. This is another research poem. You read articles and you're like, I need to use this. And then I ended up sort of folding it into some personal life experiences, so a little bit of both. And this poem, there's a really lovely online literary journal called On the Seawall. If anyone is familiar with that, Ron Slate runs it, and so this poem is forthcoming in On the Seawall. So this is titled Conditions of Survival. Surgeons have discovered a way to increase the chance of donated organs surviving transplant, restarting circulation after donors are declared dead. Critics say it reverses the very condition upon which one is deceased, that it blurs the line between the dead and the living, that it changes the definition of death. This morning, a brief walk, just checking in on the fields and forests. Some still there, some definitely not. When my stepmother died, Dad had to hide all the knives in the house from my suffering brother. Later that year, farmers felled the one tree that stood alone in its field. Driving by, I see where it used to be. Waking from a dream unremembered, all that lingers is a vague feeling of guilt. What did I do wrong? Looking up, a sudden gasp. You catch someone falling from the corner of your eye, but are too far away to offer help. Bioethicists continue to call attention to this dilemma. There's no right answer is the final takeaway. Trees breathe like humans do, pulling in energy from the sun. In every field you survive, I touch you without touching you. And then just 2 last poems. This poem is titled Memory Room. This past summer, I did a writing residency in Bennington, Vermont. Never been to Vermont before. Completely beautiful, and I met many wonderful fellow writers. And so after the day's work, you kind of sit out with everybody and chit-chat. And one of the women that was there told me a little detail that's in here. So you'll hear this detail when the friend moment comes along. And again, she told me this. I had to use it in a poem. So this is titled Memory Room. I like being outside in theory. It depends on where you are. The season, the light, the lack of light, snow melt or firefly, a flower's white cup, the music it doesn't make. A friend tells me, recounting what sleep was like on a certain medication, the door between the dream room and the memory room didn't exist. The imagined and the remembered moved through her head at will. In sleep, they couldn't be told apart. Which of these things is not like the other? Glass, skin, imprint, milk. From what I understand of dreams, they're the brain's attempt to make sense of the day's events, sorting them, discarding some, keepsaking others. There are rooms we don't even know that exist. At night, I practice walking backwards through those doorways, sliding glass, pocket, the myth of making up for lost time. This is going to be my last poem. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. This is titled Life Story and is the first poem that I wrote after a drought of not writing for about 3 or 4 years. So, Life Story. Thank you again. 10 Februaries ago, I buttoned my heart back into my sleeve. I've always been good at closing doors to rooms I won't enter again. Today's snow flies back up into the sky. A year is a unit of time. 10 years is a unit of time, or 10 units of time. I give my earring a little tug. Fellini said, the pearl is the oyster's autobiography. I too can fashion beauty from discomfort, splendor from pain, a life's work from grit stuck in my jaw. Everything is possible to the one who's designing the ship. My son draws a white cat with a white crayon and says, see? My flaw isn't thinking I'm an island, untouchable, or a very small winter forever headed elsewhere. My flaw is in thinking I can always change the ending. Thank you.
Jen Moore, folks. All right, before we get to our next feature, I want to bring back up our good friend Matt LUNDQUIST, going to play us a short set for us. Matt, please welcome Matt LUNDQUIST.
You guys clapped harder the first time. So tough act to follow. Thank you, Jennifer. I wanted to be a poet once, but I just wasn't that good at it. So I became a songwriter. A lot easier. Hide behind like a big guitar. Yeah, very inspiring. It's great. Thank you. I play about 500 shows. I still do that all the time. So smooth. All right, let's do. It's a simple little tune. It's about living in Bloomington. our out-of-town writers, just to give you a little slice. We call it B-Town. Just a little bit about what my life is about. I'm not speaking for everybody here, but... Guitar, crack a beer, take a little riff about how I feel. Take a deep breath and I'll let it out. Hey, that's my day, it's what I'm gonna sing about. Only one to live, natural and free. Ain't asking for it all, just a little piece of the dream. Good friends when you're able, you got a place at my table. Ain't much, but it's all I need. Just a little piece of the dream. Yeah, this old town ain't that cool. Every once in a while we got ourselves the booze. It's off the map. I liked it better like that. But it was cool to be kind. And no good jobs and then no bright lights. But there's nothing like Saturday night. The ones you love under the moonlight. Somebody roll another number and we'll pass it all around. Only want to live natural and free. Asking for it all, just a little piece of the dream. Good friends when you're able, you got a place at my table. Ain't much, but it's all I need. Just a little piece of the dream. Love hearing about Jennifer's process. Thanks for sharing. Anybody who does any kind of writing or art, we could talk process as long as you want. I love that stuff. My kind of style is, I don't know if you ever listened to it. I think I read a book Woody Guthrie wrote, and where he said, "Quantity is quality." That's kind of my style. I just keep writing, just keep trying. You can always just throw stuff away, or I call it put it in the compost bin. Maybe it'll be ready like 5 years later or something. This one, a lot of times I just start with like a little image or something. And this image is Old Chair. It's not the title of the song, it's how it started. I like it. Old guitar, old chair, old church, you got me, like I'm down. That's probably a good song. In country music, if you got a good title, you got a good song. So, hope you like this. This one's about my pops. He used to sit in front of the garage. We had the messiest garage in the neighborhood growing up, and he would just sit in the front of it with wide open, just sitting there reading the newspaper, smoking doobies all day. So it's about that. You know what? I played an E. Now we're gonna take it down. Think I can transpose on the spot? Walk past my reflection, these pictures on the wall, memories and frames, everything has changed. Still when I'm sitting here in your old chair, taking comfort in things that stay the same. I see you sitting here in your evening years, haze on the air in a sweet reverie. And I know you have flown far from here, but in times like this I feel you near. All that we want keeps on adding up. All that we love keep on putting on. But everything we need is here within our reach. Got each other for a while, ain't forever, but somehow world keeps turning and the sun keep on coming up. Oh my child, it's enough. Summer mornings pass so easy. Is that why you rise so early? I'd roll over, keep on sleeping in, but I never know if you'll pass this way again. I see your story pass before me over my first cup of coffee. Something lost in a distant memory. Something in the way my child's looking back at me. All that we want keeps on adding up. All that we love keep on putting on. Everything we need is here within our reach. Got each other for now, ain't forever, but somehow world keep turning and the sun keep on coming up. Oh my child, it's enough. World keep turning, sun keep on coming up. Oh my child, it's enough. Thank you. This next one is a tribute to John Hartford. It's about a man. It's more about a river than it is a man. And underneath all that, it's more about just like, I wanted to go to this John Hartford festival. That's what it's really about, underneath it all. And but I was a substitute teacher, and I didn't have any money, so I can't go to festivals. My buddy Israel, he was like, Hartford's not hard to sneak into. It's at the Bill Monroe Music Campground, Bean Blossom. And he's like, I just gotta go in there 2 weeks early. Hide out. I was just like, what? I'm not hiding in Bill Monroe Campground for 2 weeks. I got substitute teaching jobs. He's like, okay, we'll just go through this field. You gotta hike through this field, this cow field, climb some barbed wire, dodge the bull. I was like, what? I'm not doing that yet. So I entered this songwriting contest, try to get into this fest. And so I listened to John Hartford like every Saturday for 3 weeks. Then the fourth week, I
woke up and just like these words just came out just like they're I usually edit a bunch. I didn't have to edit these too much. And oh yeah, so I won the contest. That was cool. That's the good news. The bad news is they had to move the festival because they got in a fight or whatever. Organizers got in a fight. They moved the festival to a place that totally sucks. So. Not sure what the lesson is here. Something about like if you really want something, and you're not gonna get it, but maybe along the way you write a cool song, meet some cool people. Good to meet y'all tonight.
Whippoorwill, you know me well, singing just how I'm feeling. Otters jump and play up and down the bank, laughing and a swimming and a fishing. Catfish lying in his lazy riverbed, sleeping in the cool of the morning. Your Cumberland comes flowing down from a hole in the hills of Harlan. As far as I've been, this river knows no end of love. It's just as true. Someday these waters will reach the sea under skies of forever blue. Oh, to feel the sun on our faces as the current takes us around John Hartford's bend on the lazy Cumberland, past secrets stashed along the shore. Oh, to see her long auburn hair while they're dancing with the rhythm of the breezes a blowing, ripples on her waters and calling me to join them. As far as I've been, this river knows no end of love. It's just as true. Someday these waters will reach the sea under skies of forever blue. Words of earth are hidden in the woods, written in her rivers, blooming in the fields for anyone to read, and waiting for me to pick 'em and give 'em all to her. As far as I've been, this river knows no end of love. It's just as true. Someday these waters will reach the sea under skies of forever blue. Forever blue. Thanks, y'all. The festival didn't suck. It was still fun. The one that's cool is at Bill Monroe Music Campground. You guys know what I'm talking about. It's got the Back Home Again Indiana on top of the stage. This got a brand new one for you. I know they're all new to you.
This one's new to me too. Wrote it last week. I like to say my old dog, he helped me write a lot of songs because he'd always sit there with me while I was writing. He'd leave if it started sucking. Come back, it was good. He'd be smiling, it was great. Tony actually wrote a great poem about my buddy Prana. And lost him a couple years ago, but I woke up on his birthday and there's this thing I used to say to him, it's like, we got another day to spend together. Let's go, another day. That was the first thing I thought when I woke up. And so I wrote a song about it. This song's not that one, I wrote this one after it, but this one was a little better. First one's done. Remember love and the laughter you gave. Remember your joy in the simple things. Love not just the feeling, but the action, like waking up and Pops is cooking up bacon in the kitchen. Love so strong, it keeps on giving, even after you're gone. Love so strong, it keeps on living in my heart and in my song. If you're gone, why do I hear you in the waters that flow as the creeks? If you're gone, and how do I see you smiling in the butterfly's wings? It's the way your tail is wagging, waiting on the door to open, so you could leap into the morning, smiling with the love of life. Love so strong, it keeps on giving, even after you're gone. Love so strong, it keeps on giving, in my heart and in my song. I still get up early on Sundays in reverence of the times we shared, when you used to sit with me so patiently and so happy to have each other there. Every now and then I see your reflection in the little things that stir my soul, and the living signs undeniable that light my way in the days to come. Love so strong, it keeps on giving, even after you're gone. Love so strong, it keeps on living, in my heart and in my song. One more maybe? One more, I got a list of like 15 songs. Yeah, thanks again, Tony, for having me. So cool. We're me and my colleague Miss Aaron's here.
Yeah.
I call her Miss Aaron. He's still, Mr. Matt to her. We were teaching at the project school. We brought Tony in at the end of our poetry unit. Did a 1 month poetry unit. It was awesome. The kids were like, ooh, ooh, ooh. And then they did so awesome. They were so good. And one of the highlights was Tony dragged in like 12 typewriters. 19.
Including, no, 20, including mine, right?
All of them. And the kids were so into it. It was so cool. Like kids who they wouldn't write an essay, but they'd type out a poem. They had a great time. I was like, someone wouldn't even like write them on, they hate writing on paper. And they wouldn't really do it on computer either. So it was like something about the typewriters that tactile, the rhythm, the sound. It was like so powerful for some of those kids that don't get to experience that in school. So yeah, thanks again. Just wanted to give you a shout out for that. This one's about partying in Indiana during the COVID, trying to find a party. I used to live in the Bay Area, and all my friends were like, "Oh my God!" Like it went 2 years and never played a show. And they're like, "I bet you guys in Indiana, like, you guys got a lot of space." Like, yeah, we do. And, scary times, but a lot of people are just like, "Yeah, I got a backyard. Let's have a party." All spread out. Scary at the time. It was kind of a rush too. So this is about those times. Trying to find some joy in all the panic and suffering of the world. Found ourselves circle of good people like these. Music in the air, love is everywhere. It's a short time to dance under the stars before the coming of the dawn. So better get living before we're leaving, 'cause we ain't staying long. Know these good times are made to last. You understand how quickly they got to pass. When tomorrow comes and you wonder where it's gone. So while the night is young and we have each other to hold on, we better get living before we're leaving, 'cause we ain't staying long. Keep it on wild ride on this road with each other. But every road ends sooner or later. I want to thank you for the good times we share together. So let the lovers get one last dance. Let that band play one last waltz, yeah. Better get living before we're leaving, 'cause we ain't staying long. And better get living before we're leaving, 'cause we ain't staying long. If you like that, come see Creek Country Dreams sometime. We play at the Orbit Room, the Switchyard, Brown County Inn, and your backyard. So.
Thank you.
So another hand for Matt LUNDQUIST, folks. He's a tall one. Actually, Justin's pretty tall too. Maybe leave it up there. All right. Thanks so much, Matt. You know,
My pleasure.
I fondly remember my day at the project school. It was more like 30 typewriters. And I remember we had about 55 minutes to get all the typewriters in and set up for, was it 2 classes or 3 classes? There were about 50 kids. 2 classes, about 50 kids. And I made 4 poems during the class. I made one for you, I made one for Aaron, and I made 2 for a couple of those students.
There were 90 students, by the way. Oh my God.
What's that?
There were 90 students when you think of the 2 groups.
Yeah,
It was 40
yeah.
per group.
Right, yeah. So it was a whirlwind. I dearly enjoyed it though. Yeah, it was really fun. And they really dug it.
Thank you again.
Oh yeah, I'd love to do more of that. But now it's time for our other feature, and I'm thrilled to have Justin. We first met. It's funny because Joan and Hiromi and I are going tomorrow. We're leaving tomorrow for the Osage Arts Community,
yeah.
so we're going to be in your
Essentially
stomping
where I
grounds.
was.
Yeah, it's really funny. And that's where I first met Justin. I think 2 years ago now. We did a joint reading out there at OAC. Originally from the flatlands of central Illinois, Justin Hamm now lives near Twain Territory in Missouri. He is the author of 4 books of poetry: Drinking Guinness with the Dead, poems 2007 to 2021, The Inheritance, American Ephemeral, and Lessons in Ruin, and a book of photographs entitled Midwestern. Justin was chosen as a 2022 Woody Guthrie poet and a 2020 Missouri Arts Council featured artist. He is also the creator of the Poet Baseball Cards series and the founding editor of the Museum of Americana. Please welcome Justin Hamm.
Before I get started, let's take 45 seconds. Stand up and just stretch for me. Keep it simple. So I also am a teacher. I know these little tricks, and so I know if I was getting ready to stand up and stretch, that you guys probably wouldn't mind a little stretch too. So we'll do that,
Let's do it.
and then we'll get into it a little bit. Now, if you guys were in my library right now, we might play a game of Librarian Says, but I'll spare you guys that mainly because I want to come off well. I want to try to sell some books to you, and I get very competitive. I don't like to lose, and so that's the dark side of me. So we'll keep that under wraps. But, all right, let's get rolling with this. So Tony mentioned Drinking Guinness with the Dead. I'm glad he mentioned that book because I have toured this book extensively. And it is the book that I have for sale today. I'm actually supposed to be touring this new one right now called Oh Death. And because I'm a bad planner, I guess it's a good thing and a bad thing. The good thing is I sold out all the copies. The bad thing is that makes me very ill prepared to go to another state to try to tour the book that I'm trying to sell. So I will tell you guys, it's available. I'm not going to tell you it's available on Amazon because I would rather just email you the PDF than have you buy it from them. But you can get it at Barnes & Noble. That's a little bit better. And if you're interested in that, I will get into some poems here. But so I think we'll start off back in Drinking Guinness with the Dead. And Matt did such an awesome set there. And so I think I'm going to read a country music poem for him. So we'll see what he thinks here. This is called Barn Jamboree, Rosine, Kentucky. If you know Rosine, Kentucky, Bill Monroe, who the campsite you were talking about was named for, he's the father of bluegrass music. My family comes from that very same area. My grandfather's very first job in his life when he was 12 years old was to tend Charlie Monroe's fighting cocks. And my grandmother worked in the Monroe household as a maid. And so lots of stories around that. That's where my family's from. So we go back there every once in a while. And one of the last times we went down, they have a barn jamboree at the Monroe family farm. It's called Jerusalem Ridge. Well, they actually have it in a barn near there. And this is mostly what happened when we were there. Sunset slants its salmon light through the open doors. A man whom we're told has recently and only just barely survived the bypassing of multiple arterial blockages by a hotshot surgeon down in Bowling Green, accepts a battered house Martin, takes the stage to perform here for the first time in many months. He adjusts the microphone, toys with the tuners, glances around the twilit barn nervously, finally nodding at the audience seated on long benches like church pews. But before he can begin, a lovely woman about his age sidles up from the side, surprising him. She gives him a look that seems to ask if there's any chance of a duet, and you don't have to be local to work out there's been some history between them. Enough so that when he picks out the first notes and begins to strum Waltz Across Texas, their voices entwine naturally, like the fingers of the old couples who stand and press close and sway together only a little more carefully than they must have 50-odd years ago when this song and their love were both newborn to the world. Joy is a complicated matter. It almost never arrives crystalline. I've seen it bloom even on the faces of broken men buying cheap beer on the odd Tuesday in November. Unmistakable, but muddied up always, mixed with a hint of guilt or resignation. The singing man's face is like that. So is the lady's. You can see they are doing something they once believed they might never do again, and now must consider what other dream ghosts they might yet sing life into. The tune is like any other tune, and soon enough it shuffles toward an end. But her fingers find his shoulder, and a silent conspiracy ensues to strum on and reprise the chorus once and then twice more, as if they are terribly afraid for the sound to stop, afraid to step out from behind the sweet safety of perhaps. And then they must and do. The bow, the wave, the decision all arrive together in an instant. She leaves him with a kiss on the cheek that brings high color to his face, floats out with the applause into the soft Kentucky twilight. The rest of the evening he can be seen slouching, exhausted near the back entrance to the barn as the regular band swings Western style. Every so often, he runs his hand absently over the area of his chest where beneath his plaid shirt, I imagine must live one hell of a scar from all this business with his heart. So, when people worry about getting older, and I'm the exact opposite of this. Whenever I was younger, I was like, I can't wait to get to that respect age. Here's what I wanted more than anything. When I was like 22 years old, I wanted to be old enough that like other guys would look at me and say something, and I'd be like, now son, and I would say it, and it would like carry the weight of that, you know? So I got there. I'm there, right? So the young teachers and young guys that I know, they'll ask me stuff like, and one of the things they want to know about a lot is marriage. And so I'm like, sure, I'll tell you some stories. And this is one of the stories that I tell them. This is called Marriage Detail Number 2. You have been fighting. At the restaurant, to taunt her, you lean over and whisper, I'm just going to kill you with kindness. She rips into her pork chop, pauses, says, that's good to know. I'm going to kill you with a knife. Then the long moment of silence as you wait and finally realize she really isn't going to laugh. This is a 4th of July poem of sorts, and so we're not too far from the 4th of July, so I think it's worth reading it again. And I've long said this, although I have friends who have done a tremendous job of it, as a whole, the American education system does, can I say piss poor? Yeah, I can probably say that. They do a piss poor job of teaching the Vietnam War. Really and truly, like they don't touch it, they don't, you know, or if they do, it's a very surface gloss. Like, and it's weird because when I was a kid, it was that way, and it's still that way. And like, you would think it's getting far enough away now that they don't feel as sensitive about teaching, but they still don't. And so for me, I never had a course that we never even got there. Like, it wasn't even close. We were lucky if we ever got to World War II, you know, in any of my high school courses. And so the first time I even really knew anything about Vietnam was in college, and it was all my own studies. I read The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien. A lot of you guys probably know that beautiful book. And then that got me kind of going, and then I was, you know, intellectually curious enough to go and ask some of my professors to fill in some of these blanks and help me understand it, you know. But that was really probably my second lesson. So this one is what I call my first lesson in Vietnam. This was around about 1987, and there was a veteran who lived in the trailer next to us in the trailer park, and this is about him. His name was Chuck, by the way. It was how you stood on your trailer roof all that sweltering Independence Day, caped in a threadbare flag of our nation, encircled by Budweiser empties, plates of burning incense. It was how you stood there, and also how, lit from above by those colorful celebration bombs, you made me believe in the myth of the romantic savage. I had no idea then what you would try to accomplish alone in the tool shed with the extension cord, nor how in a few years you'd be hauled in, armed robbery just days after the first Gulf War broke out. I saw only your hair, shoulder length, and your scarred torso bare and bony, home to a tattooed menagerie of fantasy creatures, elf, dragon, phoenix, centaur, fairy, citizens of a land to which you would gladly defect. It was all that. And it was how recklessly you lit bottle rockets and fired them from your hollowed out walking stick. And it was how finally, when my father cupped his hands together and shouted, "Hey, Chuck, give it a rest, guy, it's getting pretty late," you turned, delicate as a dancer in the shimmering moonlight, and offered him what little was left of your mangled middle finger. This will be a good segue. So, this book is called Drinking Guinness with the Dead. And it was written during the pandemic, refers to a lot of things, refers to the dead of the pandemic, refers to a lot of the ghosts of people I knew and loved who pop up into these poems, and also ghost memories. You know, memories are also ghosts on their own, and they're the dead in some ways as well. But some of the poems are quite literally about the dead, and you'll find out in a minute. I thought I was done with that topic, but oh no, I was only just beginning. So, but this is for my mother, who I lost in 2009. So she was an extraordinary person who was also a very badly addicted person, and so fentanyl was the cause of her death. And that doesn't pertain necessarily to this poem, but I think in an overarching, especially when I get into the next book, you might recognize where maybe some of the anger and things come from in those poems. But this is called Payphones in the Underworld. My best friend texts me a picture of a letter my mother sent him the year she died. He had forgotten about it and wanted to know whether I wanted it for myself. But the power isn't so much in the ownership. It arises from the surprise in seeing the long loops of her letters unexpectedly, how they seem to carry the very sound of her voice. The dead know these things. At just the right moment, they leave off from doing their secret dead doings and find a payphone, fish around for change deep in the pockets of their burial suits. The call comes through, and on this end, I pass a Camaro just like the one Mom rose hell with when we were kids. Or the V.C. Andrews novels, stacked at the community yard sale, resurrect in my mind the rhythm of her breathing as she read Evenings by Yellow Lamplight in our smoky trailer. But it's no use calling them. The dead almost never answer. You only end up tying up the line as they stand patiently by, tapping their bony fingers to skulls and waiting for the ringing to stop, so they know for certain the need for reminder has arrived. Those are from Drinking Guinness with the Dead. I do have those available for $10. And normally, I'm also smarter at marketing this stuff. I usually wear my holy jeans, and then I tell people, if you buy some books from me, I can buy jeans that are complete in the future, and my knees can be covered. But those are not the jeans that I bought, so I'm not as clever as I normally am. So this is Oh Death, and this is an interesting short book that kind of reflects the style that I'm working in now. And you might recognize the title. Everybody knows it from the Ralph Stanley version from Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? It actually traces back to, it's an Appalachian ballad, but even before that, it's an English-Scottish ballad. And some of the earliest versions were called Conversations with Death, and that's the form that the song takes. It's people are essentially begging death to leave them alone, and death's being like, nope, I don't think I'm gonna do that, right? And so that was a very apt place for me to start with this book. Death seemed to be like just stalking me. My stepsister passed away suddenly from leukemia. My dad got very, very sick. He made it and is doing much, much better. But I mean, you live your life and you're gonna have these times, you know. A former student of mine passed away. I mean, it just seemed like it was everywhere. And then, you know, carrying the pandemic stuff with you still, that's where these poems were first kind of started, and then you're carrying that vision with it. So there's that aspect of it. All of these poems are in some way a conversation with death, one way or the other. But I was also really interested in the folk process in this one. So it's made in a lot of different ways. There are erasure poems in there where I took texts that I really love, Mark Twain, old blues songs, things like that, and I reworked them by doing erasure on them. The poems themselves borrow public domain lines from different songs and things. They're built around sometimes riffs on old songs, or they're built on riffs around other pieces of literature. So there's a lot of that going on, the way that maybe somebody who's writing folk songs might go about adapting or changing, those kinds of things. So that's your intro to Oh Death here. There's also an interesting part that you can't visually see, but it's important to me. I told you guys that I toured this book a lot, and I really did. From 2022 to, I guess, the end of 2024, I must have done probably 80 readings for this book, which is a lot to do. You know, I was lucky to have people have me come to lots of places and travel all around, and it was good because I was able to sell probably a lot more copies than I would have. But there's another thing that happens too, and what happens is you get really good at delivering the poems, you get really good at delivering the jokes, you get really good, like I knew you guys were gonna laugh at the one poem that I did a little bit ago. I was like, oh, this will be perfect, it'll lighten everybody up. Like, it becomes very kind of rote, and it's not super exciting. And for me as an artist, like, you feel like you didn't make it like that so that you weren't still feeling like you were doing some sort of creative process when you brought it in front of people. So I thought, what can I do to challenge myself so when I go out with this book and make it a little more difficult? So I just took out all the punctuation and all the lineation. And so every single one of these poems is just a big block of text. And so, frankly, if I were to go into cruise control, like I would often do reading out of this book, since I know the poems so well and have read them all out loud, I can just screw them up really bad and then look like a really bad performer. And so the idea is, by doing that, you have to stay kind of locked in. So you might see me sweating a little bit extra right? To make sure that I don't stumble over something. But the other cool thing is, I haven't locked in all the emphasis as well, right? So certain phrases and things might, in the very second before I'm reading it to you, occur to me to be something that's like a little more important. So I might throw some more emphasis on that. So they stay alive in that way. And that's also sort of a folk process thing, right? With every new playing of the song, something changes a little bit. It's never quite exactly the same. So not to make it all academic and you know, do that part to death, but I think it's worth knowing some of that stuff. So let's do a couple of these weirdo things. How about this one? What could that be? It could be the sound of whatever animal a woman carries in her heart, tearing through her chest, tattoo, pacing, growling, sniffing behind the ears of your inside animal, or else the sound of falling lightning turning to fire across a field, a fire of desperation or invitation, maybe the sound of your special medication speaking shyly to her special medication, or the wet tones of one bank account weeping as another bank account shudders, or pages turning in an empty ledger, the family Bible, a notebook of prairie haikus scrawled in blue crayon. It's hard to say. It could be a broken farewell to a farmhouse, the sizzle of an ancient corn crib, baking in the summer heat, a tomb of old maze magic so strong. Once large voodoo men of straw were crucified just to keep away the dark clouds of crows, crow mouths you see, being wholly unsuited to the silence expected of human grief. I always keep an eye out for those places where the darkness hides, walk-in closets, glove compartments, the hard stare of a man in a watchman's cap, buying dog food and drill bits at the feed store. You would think I would finally learn to live with it, always nearby, the snarling darkness that could eat up everything. To live with it the way we all live, knowing certain neighbors have Tupperware containers of ammunition, bizarre justifications scrawled between verses in Ezekiel and Deuteronomy. But I never do. You just have to get on the best you can, we're told. You just have to feel good about the bees who still come around and forget about all the dead ones. Dead bees, dead sisters, dead uncles, dead of war, chewed up by worms in casket darkness, dirt of grave darkness, fat worms smoking big cigars in skull parlors, in chambers of commerce, chambers of Congress, no light in the slimy one's eyes, no light beneath their hats, impossible to see the smoke, the debauchery in their hotel rooms of hedonism. If it is turtles, really turtles all the way down, you would never know it. It wouldn't even matter. It's too dark to see them anyway, straining under such a load, barred even from a sliver of cake on Oblivion's birthday. This is from, I did these with apologies to Pablo Neruda. I did this series of poems that were all in questions. He has the book of questions, which is really great. And so I took, is it Quora? Is that how you say it? The weird thing that people ask questions on online, and then people, you know, write really, really stupid answers. So I just kept going back to like those questions, and then being like, you know, if I was going to answer them, I would just answer them with more questions, and so this is what I would put up. And so, what happens if you don't get a tetanus shot after? What happens if you don't get a tetanus shot after getting cut with rusty metal? Does your blood turn to an Appalachian dirt road? Do tiny bootleggers run shine through your veins? Can you tune yourself into border radio stations? Are you your own churning factory now? Can you set a swinging pendulum to the pace of the word oxidation? Do you believe you still need fluoride in your drinking water? Are the crows in the barn loft like your sisters and brothers? Would you prefer pictures of saints or soldiers on your adhesive bandages? Can you forgive your mother and father their corroded marriage? Is it possible to paint the shape of glory with your fingertips? Does your jaw feel a bit stiff and underappreciated? Doesn't blood already taste like metal? At least that's what I believe I heard. Maybe just one more out of this one, and then I'll get one out I haven't done in a while that I want to end with, since we have some educators around and people are talking about being in the schools. This is called Banjo Frogs, and that is both a folk trope you guys probably have recognized. If any of you guys are visual artists, like people put them on bolo ties and they put them on paintings and sell them, right? Because they're very folksy. But there literally is also a frog, that's the banjo frog, because they have the noise that they make in their throat sounds kind of like the clang of a banjo. So that's where this one starts at. In southeastern Australia, frogs carry their banjos in their throats. Here in America, we force them to spend much of their 10-year lifespan learning to play with webbed toes, so our folk artists might affix them to t-shirts and bolo ties of quaint Appalachian chic appeal. We Americans love for our animals to perform human tricks. This is why our elephants can paint landscapes and our dogs can operate the same electronic tablets as our children. It is also why some of our legislatures have even learned to spell and sign their own names. I'll be honest, I don't always recognize this land around me anymore, and I am not especially old. Sometimes in the summer, I sit outside on the porch and pick out the first part of dueling banjos again and again to myself. It is the only part of the song I could ever master. It used to be a source of some embarrassment. These strange days, it seems like more than enough to drive home the point. We'll do. This is more stuff that you might like that you can't buy, because this was a limited run chapbook that my friend John Dorsey and my friend Victor Clevenger did on their press. And it was by subscription, which I think is a really cool way to kind of do things. And I'm actually going to look into that in the future. If there are other writers here, that model that they did is like incredibly interesting. You know, they just kind of charge a fee, and then whatever they publish in the year, you get all of it, right? Which is kind of cool. So, but anyway, what I loved about it was there were 75 of these things made, handmade. There was never going to be another one. If you ask Victor about the possibility, he gets real mad at you. And he's like, absolutely not. Like 75 on the nose. So it's kind of, there's like a no stress thing. They're already all spoken for. You get a few of them yourself. Built-in audience. So it's very, very cool. But I wanted to read this poem, and this is called Sucker. And it's named Sucker because it's about teachers. And if you are a teacher, then you will recognize why you are probably one of the suckers in this poem. So. Sometimes they ask you, your better placed friends, if you believe it's worth it. The hours of thankless grading, all that careful feedback tossed like fast food wrappers straight into the trash. Or the faces hooded in apathy, the daily herd of dehydrated horses laughing at the water you have chilled for them and flavored and poured into stylish cups. Is it really worth the years of sad, flimsy paychecks for which you're led to believe you never do enough? What about the lost angel whose poems crawled from her notebook pages and clung to the classroom walls in the shape of such hope? The one whose mugshot on the television news haunts you on long drives and in quiet moments, her dreamless eyes floating in a meth-sunken face. You think of her and of all those brilliant broken ones and you wonder if anyone could ever do enough. And that's when you tell about the boy who nearly broke you, how he threw the metal stapler at your head and called you the big boss of all MF words, and probably slit your tires, though it was difficult to prove. The same one, many years later, who saw you in a coffee shop and approached to apologize and thank you for not giving up. His patient children smiling beneath their winter beanies as he pulled out his wallet to buy what suddenly became the best cup of coffee of your life. Why did you say that? Let's stop that. Thank you guys so much for listening. I always tell people, I'm not an especially religious person, but I will drive all over this country to be in a group of people who are doing what we're doing right here. And if you feel despair about the world, know, and Tony knows this too because he travels all over it and sees it. There are groups like this everywhere that are doing this more than any of us know because we get isolated from each other sometimes, right? So there are flames of beautiful things happening all the time. This is like church for me. When I come to one, especially when I've never been before, it helps keep me lit. You know what I mean? And I feel like I can make it through a little bit longer. So thank you guys so much for having that spirit and bringing it in.
Justin Hamm, folks. So we're gonna take a little break. Feel free to get up and move about the cabin, have some snacks, visit the merch table. I know everyone's got some merch today, and then come back and we'll do the open mic. If you have not signed up for the open mic, the list is up here, so be sure and sign up. We'll be back in probably about 10 minutes or so. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for hanging. I'm gonna introduce everybody for the open mic tonight. We're gonna change it up tonight. Instead of leaving the list up here, I'm gonna actually come up and introduce everyone. So first up on the open mic, Tonya Matthew.
I just come back from San Francisco where my eldest grandson was graduating from high school, and it happened to be during the march time. So I'm writing a small piece about being in the march in San Francisco. Well, I went to the San Francisco march. I came with my daughter-in-law, Caroline. My son had dropped us off at the beginning of the march. Caroline would watch the whole way, and I would call Thomas when I was ready to stop. He'd come and pick me up. In Dolores Park, where the march began, the whole hill was covered, was thick with people. No grass or bushes showed, only trees rising out of the crowd. Parked at the entrance of the park, facing east, was the pickup truck to lead the parade. People kept on arriving, walking on past the truck and over the hill to get in the lineup. It was a friendly crowd and diverse, old, young, dressed formally, wildly dressed, and not dressed. There are always naked people in San Francisco parade, my son said, especially the men. In one march, one wore a single shot. You can guess where. Others were in fancy dress or dressed for the beach, for surfing. And a variety of signs, but no feeling of divisiveness, but a feeling of being connected, of being joined as one in the aim to get rid of the current regime, whatever the personal reasons. The pickup sounded this horn and moved slowly east, and the crowd, I know it's a cliche, flowed after it, cresting the rise and the road behind, and coming down, a wave, a tide, a movement of the earth itself, as if primal forces joined us in our anger and distress. But the feeling was not of anger or distress, but of joy, almost a calm, serene feeling of being one with so many others with the same intention to change the situation. There were no harsh slogans. People sang, laughed, danced, chanted gently, chatted amongst themselves. And as I said before, people were dressed in a variety of ways. Some in fancy dress, some in beachwear carrying surfboards, some simply in street clothes. I walked on the sidewalk since I was using my walker, going slowly and letting the river of people flow on by me, but still caught up in the mood, the intention. One sign said it all. Congress and the Supreme Court act and restore the law. After 8 long San Francisco blocks, I stepped into an alcove and called my son, who came and picked me up. We drove back to their home. In the early afternoon, Caroline got back. She had walked the whole way and then home. We talked over the march, and we both had the same feeling of peacefulness and shared intention. Have I knocked the list down?
Thanks, Antonio. Joan Hawkins.
Sure. Very good, yes. Thank you, Tanya.
So I'm reading 2 pieces by other people tonight, and both of them are organized around repetition cycle. So the first one is by John Giorno, and it's called An Unemployed Machinist. An unemployed machinist who traveled here from Georgia 10 days ago, and could not find a job, walked into a police station, yesterday and said, I'm tired of being scared. And that's an unemployed machinist, and it's from his book, Bawling Buddha. And the second poem that I wanted to read, a good friend of mine died in April, and this is one of his poems. Like many people, he had many different kinds of lives, and so different obituaries mentioned different aspects of his life. But one of the things that was particularly striking to me was that every single obit that I read mentioned that he was a poet and a revolutionary. And this is called I Want to Read at the White House by Joshua Clover. I want to read at the White House. I want to read poems at the White House. I want to read poems at the White House with all the pomp available, with celebratory music and all my beloveds watching, with Baraka and DePrima and Roque Dalton behind me. I want to read at the White House. I want to read poems at the White House wearing my favorite clothes, probably a hoodie or perhaps my Belgian suit. Belgium is a failed state in the heart of Europe, which is something to aspire to. I like Belgium, and one day I might like to read poems at the Palace of the Nation, but for now, I want to read poems at the White House. I want to read poems and sing karaoke, and I will probably tell a few nervous jokes. It will be like all the other readings. We will be there together. I want to read poems at the White House. And then, like any house reading, we will all clean up together. We will clean up the mess we have made together. All that rubble and all those ashes. Those are my conditions. Thanks. And again, that's Joshua. And he wrote this for Poetry Now, which was a partnership between the Poetry Foundation online site and WFMT Radio Network. Thanks.
Molly Leeson. Okay, 5'7", yeah.
And I'm just gonna say, I know I have a hole in my shirt, it's on the back, I just wanna get that over with. I know. I call this old man things. I can finish every one of his sentences long before he does. He rinses dishes instead of washing them, and he still doesn't lift the toilet seat. At 81, he's slowing down, wearing pajamas for half the day and taking multiple naps. He forgets things on the stove and has burned through a few pots and a few dinners. He sports an optimism not warranted by national events, even as our current political landscape terrifies him. He loves people still, but I've noticed they treat him like an old man now, doddering and telling the same stories. That must hurt. I creep around the house after he goes to bed, just so I can turn on the back porch light. He complains I'm doing away with the fireflies, and of course he's right. He is the boss of the place. For my comfort, I switch it on anyway, silently fuming that I'm 54 and need to ask permission for something like this. His will fills the marrow of my bones. Maybe by now my DNA has been reshaped by it. He has a terrible temper, something I have always feared. And fear, as the Norwegian author Hamm writes, covers you like a second skin. That fear has shaped every part of my life. And yet, who do I love most in this world? Who loves me completely? Who has been my greatest supporter? He once said of a certain essay of mine, "It's an important piece, it should be in the New Yorker." I laughed a lot, but I loved him for it. In fact, he makes me laugh every day. I nag him to get badly needed hearing aids, and his joking response is always, "What?" When I'm funny, he's generous enough to laugh too. We talk about books and ideas. We talk about the deer and birds in our backyard. In high school, my circle of friends voted him the dad they wish they had had after every one of their fathers cheated on their mothers. He thinks he can decide when he's going to die. That will of his might very well make it happen. For all his morbid talk, he loves life. He has always known how to love life.
Terry Sloan.
So, new poems. I've been on the road. My great niece is a florist, and she participated in an event where she collaborated with a poet, and she had a flower arrangement the poet wrote poems about, so I wrote a poem about that. It's not my kind of poem, but I wrote it anyway. I don't know why I call it tone poem. Overflowing, flowering flowers, pirouetting on a stage, golden wands of goldenrod peeking between the skirts of flowers better loved, usually viewed as underwater through reddened, blurry eye, announced with a mixture of a snore, a snort, a hitch, a shout. How strange to have its paltry charms praised, poured in my ear as honeyed word, revealing an altered vision reflected in a golden eye. This is more my speed. My friend is riding his motorcycle to Alaska, and he's riding around and keeps sending me videos. This one's from the Theodore Roosevelt National Park grasslands. It's called Westbound. Wind, wind, wind blows my tent down again. Here I stand in the middle of nowhere, 5 more miles to go till I find myself where I belong again, 5 miles beyond the middle of nowhere, where the wind blows, 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 my mind open again. Sky, sky, sky above my head again. Here I stand at the bottom of the horizon's bowl again. 5 more miles to go won't climb me beyond its rim again, because the wind blows, blows, blows towards insignificance again. Stars, stars, stars in my dreams again. Here I stand, the world dark below, ablaze above, because the wind blows, 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 clouds asunder, and clears my mind again. I ripped that off from Rudyard Kipling's Boots. So, he sent me a video of a moose following him down a trail through an Alaskan forest. So I wrote this poem called Wild. Wild in body, wild in mind, wild at heart, rare to find. Wild in the blood, wild in the eye, wild from the start, away I'll fly.
Woo!
That's the way I see my life in my mind's eye, and this is the way my life actually is. This is an old chair poem. It's called Easy Chair Blues. Strolling one day down Easy Street, spied the perfect respite to prop up my feet. Resting by the side of the curb, a big old threadbare easy chair. My, oh my, I plopped down with a sigh, spent the rest of a perfect day watching a perfect world drift by.
Hiromi Yoshida.
You should do the readings by height.
I'm going to read a poem from a collection called Trigger Warnings that Joan Hawkins co-edited. Joan, thank you very much for including my poems in here. This is about an incident that occurred pretty much exactly 24 years ago, and it means a lot to me to have this opportunity to share this with you all tonight. It's called Indiana versus LDS. When he stepped across the dilapidated threshold, ruptured the screened window, did he see the scrawny girl and the woman disheveled with sleep? No. Instead, he blindfolded the stars and taped the mouths of the flowers shut. I watched him unfasten his pants. Will he spend 7 years on good behavior, masturbating with the memory of how he raped me, with the fantasy of consensus, pulling arms and chairs into askew positions of compromise? After all, he dug himself a cinder block hole and buried the deed with a burglary conviction quite euphemistic. It suddenly occurred to me that rape is redemption for woman. As I read Sylvia Plath's unabridged journals among the wild lilies at the Cox Arboretum, July 2001, how Sylvia longed to be raped by the sun that killed Icarus. This was all before the done fact. 16 years before Me Too, when I accessed the information that rape was a 1 out of 4 statistic of namelessly shamed women in the United States of America. After the fall into logistical knowledge, I understood that the Monroe County prosecutor could neither touch nor mend the bruised mouths and sunken breasts of these statistical women, going the hard way Nunnery stones begging us to read between the squiggly lines of sex offender registries. Since then, I compulsively use the Odyssey case management system to search for updated offender information. Catatonic architectures of consensus coalescing and dissolving, reminding me that justice was truncated in the evacuated courtrooms of Bloomington, Indiana.
Thanks, Romy. Next, Brian Price.
Right page here in my glasses. My father died a month ago, and I was, so this is my practice memorial. He was a very optimistic guy. And I was trying to figure out what to read tonight, and I had a piece about death, and I just kind of, been talking enough about death. I had a piece about a flood, which is kind of too dead on as far as the news. And so, the type of optimism my father had was, about a week and a half before he died, I was driving a friend down to see him, and I told her, I said, I think Dad still thinks he's going to get the car back. He had had a fall, and I took the car away about 6 months earlier. And she said, oh yeah, he's counting on it. So I'm going to read an optimistic piece that I wrote in 1989, 36 years ago. It's called The New Renaissance. I'm getting ready for the new Renaissance. I've got the pointed shoes, and I've already been to the Inquisition. I'm preparing for the new Renaissance. I'm painting the ceiling, and I'm studying anatomy. I'm getting ready for the new Renaissance. This time it will be held on the far and contemplative side of Venus. I'm serious about the new Renaissance. I've taken an interest in physics. A screw is an inclined plane. In medicine, the heart is a lonely pump. And of course, in geology, there is a rock in my shoe, and it is over 1 billion years old. There will be a place for logic in the new Renaissance. Industry is alchemy, as alchemy is art. Art is behavior, and behavior is chance, and chance is rhythm, and rhythm is revolution, and revolution is measure, and measure is concern, and concern is aware, and aware is self, and self is gratification. And well, as this syllogism so eloquently proves, industry is masturbation. Or is it the other way around? When the new Renaissance arrives, we'll all join committees to decide where to put the monuments. There'll be music and hymns and calculations. 4-part harmonies will be performed by trios. The scales of justice will be apprenticed and balanced by the theater. We'll predict the outcome of cataclysms and annotate our observations with secret left-handed script. We'll march off to Italian restaurants and order things not on the menu. We'll cook and eat each other's inventions. We'll be well-read and serve no one master. When the Renaissance arrives, we'll name our firstborn Leonardo. During the Renaissance, we'll stand in the ashes of assassinations and impose order on rust. We'll walk up the steps past the columns, through the glass and iron doors, and kiss the marble in an attempt to satisfy that awful and most ancient of civilization's gods, debt. We'll leave a tip. We'll cease to consume and truly learn. We'll conserve. We'll argue over the nature of traffic. How could those in the late Dark Ages have spent so much time waiting to go in one direction when the machines of the new Renaissance will go backwards, forward, sideways, and upside down all at once? And this is from my Old Cart Wrangler, New Silence, and Other Notions book that I always forget to put out on the table.
Thanks, Brian. James Dorr.
This is just a fanciful piece called Dinner Date. There's no such thing as vampires, he maintained, and not for the first time. Alain wasn't entirely sure what had set him off. Was it something she'd said? They hadn't known each other that long. In fact, this is the first time they'd really been alone together. She giggled softly, a sort of a first date. She really wasn't that good with small talk, though, and wasn't certain what she might have said. But the local legend, the one about New Orleans being infested with vampires, had somehow come up. The one about les filles à la cassette, the casket girls, as they were commonly called, who allegedly had brought vampires with them when they'd come from France in 1728. That was sensitive ground for Alain. It was sensitive ground especially since she was herself one of les filles, and she had herself arrived in 1728. You know that's just nonsense, though, she said, about bringing vampires with them in their luggage. My family, yes, has been here that long. But the Casket Girls is just the name of our organization, a sorority of us early settlers, that is, their descendants, who, sent specifically by the king to marry the colony's leading men, have by now inherited an amount of wealth between us. And so we hope to give some of it back by supporting charity. Maybe so, he said. His name was Francis. Nevertheless, that vampire thing is still all hooey. I mean, I admire the good work you do, but vampires, if they exist, are evil. And I know you can't stop people from believing in silly legends, but you shouldn't encourage it. The least thing you might do is change your name. But the Casket Girls, of course, meant so much more. And by embracing the local legend, they gained protection. At least that was what their leader, Hamm, had said. If anyone so much as breathed the word vampire, they'd just laugh it off. What a wonderful story, one would say, smuggling whole vampires in their suitcases. But how then would they have brought their clothes with them? Alain chuckled. The image of all the Casket Girls naked, suitcases in hand, descending onto Decatur Street was bizarre and amusing. But even with her laughing it off, Francis wouldn't stop. Vampires, if they existed, are creatures of Satan, he said. That was crossing the line. The fact was, first, that the only vampire the Casket Girls brought with them was Hamm herself. It was she who had turned the rest once they were here. And she was hardly some kind of creature of Satan. She was Alain's best friend. And she had herself been persecuted in France. Members of Alain's family, of Hamm's family, even slaughtered. So Hamm had fled with the real Casket Girls and so formed a new family of which Alain was proudly a member. But joking was one thing, dwelling on vampires and adding to that thoughts of evil and Satan, that was what could bring a new persecution. Because not everyone would be like Francis, dismissing the whole thing as just being silly. Always there would be some, hearing such things repeated enough, would come to believe them. Alain turned to Francis. Do I look like a vampire to you, she asked. She smiled, slightly pouting. Francis took the bait. He leaned to kiss her, but she backed away, so he smiled back and said no. She let him hold her hand, warmed in the breeze of a hot summer's night, strolling downriver out of the French Quarter into a maze of less brightly lighted streets and alleys. Shyer than most of her fellow fee, Hélène was not good in this kind of situation. An introvert, really, she admired Hamm, who, quintessentially sure of herself, always seemed to know just what to do. Or, well, almost always. Hamm did have a temper, even laughing herself about how she could sometimes be perhaps slightly impatient. Hélène tried to think. They had entered by now a small pocket park, romantic and, by this late hour, deserted. Hamm was a leader, Hélène more the one to say second emotion than actually make it. But what would Hamm do? Well, Frances persisted. But people believing in vampires, how foolish can one be? Yes. Putting her finger on Frances's lips, she raised her face now to invite his kiss. And he never saw her teeth when she bit him.
Thanks, James. PC Tavares.
Hello, my name is Paola. I'm going to share some poems from my upcoming book, I'm Sorry, I'm Just a Girl and Other Lunacies. This first poem is called Born to Perform. She's in red on a stage. 2 whiskey sours, 2 cigarettes, and blues, baby. A blues that reaches down into the throat, grasps at the womb, and gives a squeeze. Everywhere breasts, hips, thrust, breath. In the yard, the twisting sinews of the flamboyant tree, dusted sunset across the leaves. Its supple flowers shiver in the wind. Hair is forest floor, tree bark, cinnamon, rich coffee. Between my limbs, a galaxy of yes and please, of more, of don't stop, of give and take, of what's your name, of here's my card, of supernova, of now, now, now. She's in red, she sits at her black piano. Every slight finger's press releases a groan, a groovy moan. From the elephant graveyard, a chorus of mourning into the air. She lies back slowly, washes over me. Her curves dance, her eyelids drawn, curtains, minor chords, rhinestone shimmer, freckled cleavage, 2 cigarettes, and now she can never see me applaud.
Yeah.
This poem is called Butterfly Elegy. I have been grieving scant chunks of absent spirit, either vanished or misplaced. What a lengthy funeral to endure, every self I paraded in, before donning my armor and turning to goo. There was no faith involved. There were no lies. There was nothing. Not even an oozing from the chrysalis. There was no emergent becoming, no rebirth. Only movement, only airstreams, only wings, only spectral sensitivity and light everywhere.
Yeah, thank
Thank you. Mark Haggerty.
Don't worry, I'm not going to play. I like driving down country roads.
Yeah.
It just don't matter which way you go. Because nothing in the wide world ever mattered at all when I'm down on a country road. I like my 61 Chevy truck. It does drive heavy. It does fuck up. But I swear it can't outrun these real heartaches inside when there's nobody in the whole wide world. While I was on the road down in Orange County, the signal points to this two-horse town. You know, all air thunder and air lightning are gone forever down in Elandtown, where the reservoir is now. Elandtown, you're a lot like me, sinking heavy under all these waves. Oh yeah, where the water's ebb, just to hold all these rivers in. Honest, Sheriff, I was driving drunk and crazy down Moores Ridge Chapel on the way to where I live. But your 10-cent world was born to drive me crazy, and you know it truly did. Elandtown, you drove me crazy free. Now I'm higher than the white oak tree, where the waters ebb, just to hold all these rivers in. Well, Eland's going under the lake. What it was is what it was. Eland's going under the lake, where the great oak stood, over by the bridge. Well, I like driving down country roads. It just don't matter which way you go. There's nothing in the wide world that ever mattered at all. When I'm down on a country road. Yesterday I saw Jesus running down the road. And he only had one sandal on beneath his dirty robe. And that one old sandal clapping made a funny sound as he prayed along underneath his breath for God to burn this town. Oh Lord, he said in rhythm as he glanced around behind, please save me from your followers, but not like the other time. They prepare all their own pestilence. They make all their own plague. The hell lives in their TV sets. They don't want to be saved. Well, his voice began to dwindle, and he tripped upon his road. Just one old sandal clapping, running down the road. And the very last thing I saw was he signaled to change lanes, and he used his middle finger, Lord. And the town blew up in flames. Well, I guess that's called salvation way over in Vietnam. But me, I'd hope for better back here in H-bomb land, where the Christians all got weapons and even children carry the gun. You better follow Jesus, brother. You better learn to run.
That's right.
Thank you, Mark. All right, is there anyone else that has gotten some courage here in the past 45 minutes that wants to read in the open mic? Going once, going twice, 3 times. Thank you all for being here. Matt LUNDQUIST is going to close us out with a song. I want to thank our fantastic features, Jennifer Moore and Justin Hamm. Thanks for being here. And thanks to all of our fantastic open micers for being here. I'll get out of the way and let Matt do his thing, because I think setting up is part of his thing. So.
It's a real treat to share with everybody tonight.
I love hearing everybody's stuff. Thank you. I'm not going to try to top anything.
That'd be impossible. That was amazing. Thank you. Along with the theme of Enough About Dying, it's like a living song. I tried to write a gospel song, and but it wasn't like you gotta go, you gotta die to get to heaven. It's more like heaven's right here, heaven's here and now with y'all. That's what I believe anyway. And it's also about heaven's, for everybody. You don't have to be a right-wing Republican.
That's right.
And gospel just really means good news. It comes down to. And so it's for all God's children. When I say that, I mean all the kids and naked kids in Dolores Park, and all the old drunks in Kentucky. I forgot what the town was.
Been hurting, feeling unloving. Darling, don't be mistaken. Time is now, we're gonna lay our burdens down. Good news for all, willing to listen. Don't need a ticket, it's an open invitation. Gonna tell everybody, all God's children, welcome. For so long I've been so blind. Now it's time, gonna open my eyes. Come on down, the gates are wide open. Well, the gates are wide open. Let's go dancing right through them. Come on down, the gates are wide open. It ain't a road that you travel on, just the ground that we now stand upon. It's the path been under your feet all along. For all these steps we've taken in pain, ain't it time to lay down your cane? Wouldn't it be nice to feel light on your feet again? Well, I opened my eyes today, and a hard dream faded away. Come on down, the gates are wide open. Well, the gates are wide open. Let's go dancing right through them. Come on down, the gates are wide open. You don't need an army to storm these walls. You don't need money to pay off the guards. Come on down, the gates are wide open.
Mad LUNDQUIST, folks. No round of applause for Mad LUNDQUIST. And another round for Jennifer Moore. And Justin Hamm. And thanks again to all of our folks in the open mic. Really appreciate everyone being here tonight, standing for the whole thing. We really appreciate it. Thanks to Backspace for having us. Thanks, everybody. Hope to see you next month, August 14th. Come right back. We'll see you soon. Thank you. Have a good night.